What's up, everybody? JP Podcast here, episode 3. We finally got the sign in. Now we got to get it lit. So that'll be maybe episode 4. By episode 40, I guarantee it'll be lit. So Shane's laughing so much he just tripped. It was awesome, but he's light on his feet. So anyways, we have a friend of mine today, Jesse Lokken, in the house.
Hey, what's up, my guy? How are you, buddy?
So I got a chance to meet Jesse. Jesse Lokken, Guaranteed Rate Affinity.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
I got a chance to meet you through Keith.
Yep.
We were buying a house. So we're in California at the time. We're moving to Austin. Sight unseen, some pictures online. It fit everything we needed. So we're like, that's the one. And we go through a bank I won't disclose, but it's like a police. And then, there's things like that. And they deny. They're like, yeah, we're going to get you approved. And I'm like, right before, I'm moving with my wife, my baby. They're delaying everything. Big old commercial bank. And then they're like, yeah, denied. And I'm like, what do you mean denied? Work with me. Tell me why. What can I do? Ghost me. Just a horrible experience. And so I'm like, we're going to have to rent something. I'm going to bring my wife, my baby, a U-Haul, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have nowhere to live. And so Keith introduced me to Jesse and Steve, and we went back and forth. And that's when we kind of built a relationship.
Yep.
Guy was a bad ass in loans, just educating me, helping, getting it done. So resourceful. So we'll figure out a solution. So let's make it work. Hey, let me see what we can do. Let me talk to my underwriter. Going back and forth. I was just so impressed with the professionalism, the service, the kindness, the authenticity, that we became friends. So when I moved here, I was like, hey, let's go to lunch. And then he took me to a CrossFit workout, and I broke my right shoulder. So this is why it's broken still. And he says, I don't, it's like I don't do it too often. And then he's beating his personal best when I'm there. So set me up for that.
You just motivated me like everybody else that you do things for. So that's what it was.
You wanted to inspire me, huh?
Yeah, exactly. You inspired me. How about that?
So, but just a good friend in the loan industry. And some of you guys know I like real estate. Some of you guys know we built some homes. We have a couple properties. But I think real estate is one of the best investments for people to make. And I think there's so many people, especially with home ownership, the highest it's ever been, renting, the highest it's ever been. There's so many misconceptions, understandings about how to buy real estate, how a real estate loan works, that we want to do one for everybody. If you're a renter today, this could be a great episode for you, because maybe you're going to get a couple takeaways on how you can go from renter to owner. And if you are an owner today, maybe you can go from owner to investor, and that you can learn a little bit. But I hope this adds value to everybody, bro, and thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. Very delightful. It made me blush a little bit how you introduced me, but very mutual. Feel very much the same about you, your motivation, what you do for a living, and just grateful to call you a friend.
Awesome, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, biggest misconception. There are so many people that even the guys that I work with,
yep,
where they're just okay renting. And I don't understand it. I'm like, why would you want to rent? That's somebody's mortgage. And there's I don't think they believe that they can get a loan. What is the biggest reason that people rent versus buy?
Well, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? A couple things right now is still to this day, people think, oh, hey, I have to put 20% down to buy a house, right? I have to save 20% of that purchase price to buy a home. That's not the case. There is a plethora of programs that are out there. Down payment assistance programs, low down payment, FHA. If you're a vet, you got 100% financing through our VA programs as well too. But why would somebody say, oh, I don't want to buy? Well, maybe it's a fear of commitment, right? It's kind of getting in one of those relationships, right? You're buying a house. It's the largest investment of your life. It can be very intimidating. So that's where you have to have a loan officer like myself to kind of help you walk through, what does this look like? How does this make sense? And even if it's not right now, it's about how do you set goals to be in that part. As you know, dealing with what you guys deal with and the insurance piece and the investment side of it, this is a large investment of somebody's life.
Oh, yeah.
They got to make sure that they are fully educated when they make that decision, because once they sign that documentation, there's no going back. It's not a 12-month lease anymore, right?
Yeah.
They can be looking at a 30-year mortgage, right? But again, a mortgage is a financial mechanism to get you from point A to point B. Sometimes it's a Ferrari, sometimes it's a jalopy, right? Just a matter of what you need, what it gets you there, right?
Okay.
It's accomplish it. Get what you want to do.
So would you say the two biggest reasons are, one is down payment?
Down payment, money that goes along with it.
And a normal down payment for a first-time home buyer
You can go 3.5%.
Okay.
There's 3% down programs. If you qualify for certain bond programs, there's 1% down.
So what's the average house in Austin right now?
Oh, let's say mid 500s, right?
Okay. So if I 3%, 15 grand, somewhere around 15 grand.
Yep. 15, 20 grand, call it all in for a down payment. There's different things that you can actually negotiate that just you need to get educated on, right? You can get buy down products, right? Where you can buy the rate down temporarily. You can get seller assistance to cover closing costs, right? There is bonds that you can get from the city depending on how much money that you make in certain areas that they'll actually give you to help you offset the down payment.
So is it most people are just not having the conversation, so they're not even finding out about these programs?
Correct. Or they're on the doom and gloom trail and they're WebMDing themselves to death on whatever it is online that they see, or the housing market's not great. This is a huge opportunity to buy right now. Huge.
Yeah, it's like, Warren Buffett says in times of fear, be greedy, and in times of greedy, be fearful. So I've learned from doing the opposite of what I should be doing. Like the stock market's crashing and I sell, and then when it's like crypto's the highest, I buy. So I've made those mistakes.
100%.
So right now you think it's a good time for people to buy? Because I saw Wall Street Journal today. It said it was 7%.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we're floating around right now. I'll give you a John Templeton phrase, right? And the times of mass pessimism, right, is the biggest opportunity.
Okay.
Right. So this is where you have to be in this scenario of like, okay, everyone's doom and gloom. Well, why wouldn't you buy? Prices are suppressing a little bit. We're not in 2021 anymore where you're seeing 3% interest rates, where people are going and affording way more on what they could do and overspending, right? People didn't have a problem spending 10, 15, 20% over the asking price because like I'm locking in at 3%.
Yeah.
Right. So now you can actually go and negotiate, right?
Okay.
You can buy down products, which means you can get the rate 3% below for the first year, 2% below for the second year, 1% below. So there's certain things that you can do now on a primary residence or a second home that, a temporary buy down came out in the 1970s. Everyone thinks it's a brand new product. It came out in the 1970s in double-digit inflation, reintroduced the mid-90s, early 2000s, and then it's really making an emphasis right now because we had such a jump in interest rates that we've had so many people start coming out of the woodwork, builders, lenders, sellers. They just want to move their house. They want to move their product. And the mortgage industry is always ever elusive to actually go with the flow of where it's at. So it's a really good time to buy right now.
Okay. So if, let's just say from, is there a percentage wise, like where it was at the peak before rates went high? Is it like a 10% discount right now, 20% discount?
I mean, it really just depends on, in certain places, because I was in Chicago before I moved to Texas, there is no inventory, right? It is landlocked. It is, homes going, $150,000 to $200,000 over in a jumbo product.
Even right now?
Even right now with a 7% interest rate. Because there is
no
inventory. Well, COVID, right? A lot of people moved from certain places to places where maybe a little bit open, and now their jobs are calling them back, right, to where it was. And people came in, and rates were 3%, and everyone was buying these houses and left and right. Me being an investor, I bought a lot of houses during that period of time because money was cheap, right? Why wouldn't you? And now you're going back into it like, well, I don't have a place to live, right? You're starting to see rents like peak right now. Right?
Rents
why would you? Yeah, they're soaring. And why would you want to go do that when you can actually get yourself in an equity position, right? To actually build something for yourself. The other part is rates will go down. They have to. Our economy cannot sustain right now where things are at. Can I tell you when? If I did, I love you, but I'd probably be on a yacht in the Caribbean right now, with my crystal ball saying, hey, rates are going to go down. But there's a huge opportunity for people to buy right now and actually negotiate where there wasn't, say, 18 months, 24 months ago.
And for the people that say like rates are probably not going to go down because they're like, we think that it's going to go back to 2-3% because that's what a lot of people knew. But you go back and they do the whole historical chart and they're like, no, on average it is 5-6% is normal.
Yep, exactly.
So
and
is it going to? Do you think it's really going to go down, or is this like the new? Is this a new rate?
No, I wholeheartedly believe it will because one, we're in an election year right now. Doesn't matter if you look at the history of the mortgage-backed securities, right? Every time it's Q3, right, that's when they start. Usually a good indicator of rates are going down. And this is not to be political one way or another. This is saying is, okay, the party, the incumbent is going to say, oh, we're just getting started, or what's happening. This is what we're doing. There's always a little uncertainty, right? Or, going into Q1, if the incumbent doesn't stay, right, and the new party comes in, their biggest consumer confidence rating is that first Tuesday in April, Q1. They accomplished majority of their fiscal policies, which in Q1. So that's my little bit of my history nerd self in regards to mortgage-backed securities. But so there's a good indicator right now.
For somebody that doesn't know what a mortgage-backed security is, I know
it's what the interest rates are tied to, right? Everyone will say, oh, the 10-year treasury, like if bonds are selling off, right? That doesn't mean that's a good thing. That means things tend to actually go up in an opposite direction where rates tend to go higher, right? And if bonds are not selling, then things start to compress and go a little bit lower from an interest rate perspective. So it's just a matter of watching the swings. 10-year treasury is a good indicator of what a bond is, but another one to look at is be the MBS, mortgage-backed security market.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say I'm like, hey, I didn't understand anything Jesse said right now, but I think it's a good time to buy.
Call me.
Okay. I think it's I want to buy. I think I need a lot of money. I don't even know if I qualify. Where does somebody start?
Yep.
You know, like we like to talk about being wealthy and all this stuff, but there's so many people that have no idea. Where do I even start when I want to go buy a house?
Right. Start with a loan officer, right?
Okay.
You need to know what you can afford. Not just what you can afford. What are you comfortable affording, right? Let's go through it. Let's do a soft credit pull. Let's look at all your debts. Let's make sure all your stuff is in line, right? Let's make sure your income that you're telling me is truly what's coming to fruition, right?
Okay.
Like we have to go through it if you're self-employed, you know, looking at any P&Ls, right? Any business returns, you know, certain things that, you know, we've had to do, right?
Sure.
And things like that, making sure if there's any other debts that are being paid off or, you know, what can you afford? How much money have you saved? Is there family that's going to give you a gift? Is there a bond program that you get? Like starting with a loan officer who's competent and can fully understand what we can actually do. That's like way to go, because at the end of the day is if I can't do something right now, I'm going to at least give you goals, right? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years for you to be able to help yourself line up to be able to go and buy that house. Right. And if you follow them 9 times out of 10, right, it's going to work out for you. Right.
So so some people think, well, I have to have everything perfect before I go talk to a loan officer.
No,
because they're going to look at me and they're like, sir, you're not even ready for this. Is that a misconception?
That's a total misconception. There's different loan products that are out there, 580 credit scores and up, right? If you've had bankruptcy or if you've had a foreclosure or owned a home in the past or short sales or had some delinquencies, we have credit counseling companies that can help you get some of the stuff removed off your credit a little bit earlier than anticipated, right? Rather than just sitting and waiting, right? Because you sit and wait, you're not doing anything proactive for yourself to actually go and afford the home, right? Or go after it. But the part is get in front of us now so we can tell you what to do. Because a lot of stuff is people like, oh, I just got to pay off all my debt right now, and that's going to make it work. Well, you paid off every single piece of your debt. You didn't need to do all that. And now your down payment's gone, right? So we want to help you find a balancing act. Going back to your mortgage is a financial mechanism, right? Either it's a jalopy or a Ferrari, right? That's what it can be. Sometimes, you know, if you have a lower credit score and you got some stuff that's out there, you're not going to have, you know, the best mortgage or the best rate and the best things that get there, but it helps you acquire the property, right? And we get you there and we help you coach you on what it needs to be at so you can go to that next level, right? Or maybe when we refinance you, get that rate a little bit lower, save you a little bit more money. Again, it's a financial mechanism. That's all it is. That's what a mortgage is.
So get into a property. Maybe I don't have the best rate, but I'm getting in there. I'm paying down my mortgage. My equity's growing.
Yep.
And when rates come down, my credit's better.
Potentially tax deductibility in regards to, you know, mortgage interest, depending on what you file, how things come through. Obviously, talk to your CPA about that, right? Don't want to give those that advice, but there's so many things for you to have as a homeownership. It's a wealth tool for you, your future, and your family.
Is there anything I shouldn't do before I'm about to buy?
Don't run your credit 1,700 times for different things, right?
Okay.
So don't go, hey, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to get a new credit card. I'm going to take out a student loan, and then I'm going to go apply for a mortgage. Right? When you apply for a mortgage, we give a list out that says do not do. Don't transfer your money like it's a second job, right? Ping pong balling it from account to account to account. Don't run your credit for anything that's going on like that. Don't sign on any promissory notes or any big purchases that are out there for you as well too, keep credit cards. Obviously, if you can keep them below 30%, that's the ideal situation for you to be in the maximum score of your actual credit score.
Okay.
But if you pay it off every month, it shouldn't reflect poorly on you as well either. So.
Okay, so don't take on. What I heard from that was don't take on like new debt right before you go buy too, because I think what people do is they buy a car.
Yep.
And then they'll want to go buy a home.
Yep.
And I remember when I was trying to buy a home for my parents,
Yep.
I was talking to a loan officer, Rosie, in California, and I said, "Hey, I need to buy a new car."
Yep.
And she's like, "Don't buy that car right now before you get your parents' loan, because it was a home for my parents. I was going to live in it with them and then eventually give it to them, and that's what we did. But I ended up financing a car. My grandmother at the time, it was a long story, but my grandmother at the time financed a car.
Yep.
I took care of the payment because it was like an $800 payment.
Yep.
That was really going to affect my debt to income ratio. So for people that don't know what debt to income ratio is,
Yep.
can you give us a breakdown of what that is and what's like, how do they account for it?
Yep.
And what is a good percentage to be?
Yep. So there's two things that go into a debt to income ratio. There's a front end ratio. That's just the housing expense, right? Divided by your gross monthly income.
Okay. So give me an example.
So let's just say, for example, you have a housing expense of $2,500.
Okay.
Right. And that includes his principal and interest, taxes, insurance, right?
Okay.
You know, HOAs, whatever it may be, everything for the actual home.
Okay.
And say you make $10,000 a month.
Okay.
Right. That front end ratio is at 25%.
Okay.
Okay. Then you want to do a debt to income ratio, which would be your back end ratio. So that all the debts that would be on your credit report plus your front end ratio, right? So you have a $1,000 car payment, you have a $500 a month pool payment, right? So you're at $1,500 there, and $2,500. You're at $4,000 total.
Okay.
You're at a 40% debt to income ratio. Does that make sense?
So the mortgage, the new mortgage,
Yep.
principal plus insurance plus taxes.
Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOAs, whatever it is, $2,500. Okay.
Plus, okay.
Car payment, $1,000. So
Yep.
we'd be at $3,500.
Yep.
And then say a pool payment, another $500 payment.
Some kind of installment.
Some
debt.
kind of installment
Does
debt. that you
student
have.
loan debt
Student loan
count?
debt would count as well
Okay.
too, unless you're getting an
Got it. So my monthly credit card payments that reflect on my credit, my car loans, any installment loan that reflects on my credit, they're going to add all that up.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then you divide it by your gross monthly income. So we are at $4,000 divided by 10,000 would be 40%. Right.
Okay.
You want to be typically in most loans, you want to be under 45% on a conforming loan, right?
Conforming means what?
Conforming, any loan that's in the, lower 48 except certain counties and states, right? $766,550,000.
The value of the home
The
or the
value
loan.
of the loan.
The value of the loan.
$766,550.
Okay.
Or lower.
Okay.
Or it could be considered you want to be at 45 or lower. You can get qualified up to 50% on some of them. There's certain factors that you have to do, but that's just kind of the rule of thumb. FHA, like a Federal Housing Authority, if you're going to do the 3.5% down, they go up to 50. Sometimes you can go a little bit higher. Your VA, same thing, up to 50. You can go a little bit higher. There's variables that come with it. Reserves, which would be money in the bank beyond closing, great credit score, great income, all those fun things. So there's a bunch of. It's an algorithm, right? That's really that's what we play with all the time, right?
And to get a loan, if your income is at 10,000 and your mortgage and all that plus your debt is you're at that 40% number.
Good to go.
Right. So okay. So that's where people should be at. 40% or less is ideal. For
45 or less.
45% or less.
Remember, it's going off your gross
income,
Yep.
not my net.
Yep, gross.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. And then is there are you seeing that most people are not buying homes because they're not getting married, they're not having kids? Is that playing a role into it?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of, this is an interesting time, right? People are having kids later in, more urban settings, right? Things are not as, before. I mean, my family, I grew up in small town Minnesota, right? My family was always like, get your house, have your kids, be gone. And I think my parents were, below 50 by the time all of us were out of the house, right? And that's not now. I am
just had a kid
I'm
yesterday.
42, man, and I have a 3.5-year-old, and there's other people that have 3.5-year-olds in my daughter's class that probably got me by about 10 years, man.
Wow.
12 years. So yeah, is it just happening a little bit later? I think people are realizing that how expensive stuff is, that they're really focused on their career first and then family second, where it used to be family first and then career second. I think that has something to do with people holding off a little bit more and buying the house. I mean, some people are still buying real estate though, regardless of it. There's a lot of people that are going against the grain. I mean, the good thing about Austin right now, especially where we're at, is there's a huge opportunity where people are making really good money and the housing is there and the rent is high. So it's like you can get, 3% down or 3.5% down. You can go buy something that to the equivalent of what you're paying for rent.
Makes sense.
Right?
Should I buy something if I am single, I'm not married, I don't have kids yet? Should I still buy real estate?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to have that as a diversification of your investment pool, right? It's just a sliver of what it is, right? If it's insurance or if it's, brokerage accounts, a piece of real estate is an investment for you. It's diversification. Why wouldn't you want to have it? Because that property could turn into a rental property for you, right?
Sure.
Appreciation down the road. It's something maybe you sell it and that helps you step up to the next property, right? Whatever the world takes you, like whatever it may be, like why wouldn't you want to actually plant some roots and actually have something that's a tangible investment vehicle for you for the future?
One of the things I saw I think it was on Instagram, and the guy said, help your kid buy a house by the time they turn 18. And this was the advice. You can tell me if it's accurate or not. They said, as soon as your kid can work, hire them for your corporation. And I think it was like at 15.5, because I know you can hire kids if they're able to, like, for marketing and other stuff, which I'm trying to learn all these tax breaks.
Right.
So as soon as they could work, like 15.5, whatever, have them get a part-time job, hire them to work for your company, actually make them do the work, pay them, and then take that money that they're making, save it. That was rule number one, or advice number one. And then 2 was have them start filing taxes so they have some tax history. And then 3 was add them to your credit, your credit card, so that they have some credit history as well. And then by the time they're 18, they should have enough credit history, tax history, and down payment to be able to purchase some kind of maybe duplex or investment property and be able to use that rental income from like the duplex to help offset the mortgage. Is that good advice? Is that accurate?
Why wouldn't you? I mean, the odds of you probably having a cosign on that are probably pretty great, because it doesn't really work out as perfect as that would say. Like someone's working part-time and you think their debt to income ratio is going to fall in line to afford a duplex. You could utilize some of that rental money, but where are they going to come with that down payment from the get-go? If it's a FHA deal, you can do the 3.5% down, right, on up to 1 to 4 families, or you can do 5% down on up to 1 to 4 families, because I know we want to talk about multifamily here at some point, right? That is a great opportunity for them to be able to do it. But I think from the beginning, you more than likely have to be on that with them, because what will happen is they don't have the historical data of probably making $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year being a high school student, unless they're some Instagram influencer. Maybe that's what you're watching, some Instagram.
My son will be on the podcast.
There you go. All right.
JP3 podcast.
JP, there you go. I like it. But I think sooner you can get into real estate, the better. I got into real estate when I was 19 years old and started getting myself into properties, and that was been such a blessing. Just
how did you get into it?
Man, hard work and grind. I mean, long story short, I got in the mortgage industry. I was selling coupon books door to door in the winters of Minnesota. And a gentleman that I kept selling to was like, you should come work for me at this mortgage company. This is 2002. And I was like, all right, sure, whatever. He offered me a $24,000 a year base salary. I thought I made it. Right? I thought I made it. I was like, oh, this is so great. This is great. I'm going to love it. It's going to be awesome. And then my 3rd month, I broke the rookie record for that company nationally by selling all of them, because I kept booking appointments for them, because I had no problem.
What were you selling?
Mortgages.
Oh, you were okay. So he recruited you.
I went to work for him.
Mortgages.
I was selling coupon books.
Got it. And he was.
And I went to work for him.
Okay, got it.
And then I started selling mortgages.
Okay.
And
at 19.
At 19 years old. No idea. I didn't even know this. I didn't know how to spell mortgage. Like, I didn't know what it was.
But you broke the record in month 3.
By month 3.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things where, like, if you can kind of connect with something and connect with people and kind of help coach them. It was great. And then that's what I got into. So that's where I had that influx of cash, making some good money, right? And I was like, all right, let's go put this into some real estate, right? And then that's where it kind of like kept spiraling and kept spiraling and kept going in a really good direction. And then obviously 2007, 2008 happened. You know, things are still good on my end. I was lucky to get out of some damage control, and then, you know, started to go back a little bit heavier into it in 2009, 2010 when I lived in Chicago and got a lot of stuff going there. So we got quite a few properties as well. So we can, you know, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this multifamily stuff. But
I want to ask you questions there. So
yeah.
So okay, so before we transition, for a person first time I'm buying, should I buy, you know, people that are new, that are considering buying real estate? You have all these different podcasts that are talking about it, and you know, they'll say buy a duplex, you know, live in one, rent the other. Any advice on like first, for a family, obviously they're going to buy a home, you know, with their kids and backyard. But for somebody that's trying to, like, I'm not married, I don't have kids right now, but I want to build an asset. Right. Is a duplex a feasible, good investment? Do you see that as common?
Yeah, I do. It's a great investment if you have a good stomach. And why do I say that? Is now you have 2 furnaces, right? You have 2 refrigerators. You have 2 stoves, right? You went from going from 0 to 2. Right? So think about that. So if stuff happens, that can obviously go into your income that you'd be making off this property. Hands down, it's the best investment you can have. Why wouldn't you want to have somebody pay a majority of your mortgage or a good chunk of it, and you live for 50% or less, right? That would be great. And they're helping you pay that asset down. I look at that. Every property I look at that I have is another 401k, right? That's what it is. It's another IRA, whatever you want to call it. The cool thing about it, this one though, is I can go in once it's paid down. I can borrow money against it tax-free, right? Same things that you guys have in your vehicles, right? So there's certain things that you can do with the duplex that you can help you accelerate to the next one. So this is a huge opportunity. So if somebody's a first-time home buyer and they want to go and buy a property, and they can buy 2 units all day long. It's the rule of vacancy, right? If you have 1 unit vacant, right, you're at 50%, right? If you have a single-family home and that's vacant, you're at 100% vacancy.
That makes sense.
Right? So those are some things that you have to kind of think about.
Okay. And then how did you get into multifamily? You're buying real estate. You're 19. You get into it. You start killing it. You start learning that industry. Did you buy multifamily first? Did you buy a house first?
No, I didn't. I bought houses and condos and townhomes first, which, you know, I highly recommend. Manage what you can manage, right? Buying too many homes with homeowners associations can tend to be a little bit of too many governing bodies trying to tell you what you need to do in regards to it. So multifamily came a little bit later for me. Moving to the bigger city of Chicago from Minneapolis area, right, is there was more opportunity for that multifamily that was out there, you know, 1 to, you know, 2, 3, 4 units, right? You go above 4, it starts going into more of your commercial lines of business that you need to go. But you go 2, 3, or 4, you can put down a minimum amount of money, and you have to live in that property for a year.
Okay.
That's really what it is. So the Greystone that we still got up in Chicago, which I love, it's one of my favorite properties that I've ever owned, is I went on it in an FHA, 3.5% down. It was with the same family for 78 years, right? Wow. So I didn't want to put down too much money because I knew I need to go into that property and start fixing it up. Then I was able to fix it up, right? I did a really pretty decent job. The value went up dramatically. I was able to pull that money back out, and guess what I did with that money? Went and bought another one.
Got it.
Right? It took me about 18 months to finish that one. And then what did I do? I did that one for about 24 months, and I went and bought another one.
So you bought the first one, FHA. You lived in one of the units, because FHA, you have to live in it.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so you lived in it, then you refurbished it.
Yep.
Okay.
Just fully renovated it, and then created a lot of value.
When you bought it, was it fully rented at the time?
Mm-mm.
It was vacant, completely vacant?
Yep.
Okay. Had you ever been, and you already had been a landlord before because you were buying some of these condos, townhouses, and renting them out?
Yep.
Okay. For somebody that's never been a landlord before, how should they start? Should they Where does somebody even start?
Obviously, looking at the leases that are in place if they're going to buy an existing property, right?
Okay.
If they're going to be a landlord, you want to make sure that you have a solid lease, solid payment plan, solid everything put together in regards to where things are at, expectations of the clients, how long they're going to be in there. Because if there's ever things that you need to fix or do whatever, you don't want that to fall into your hands. Being a landlord, again, can you stomach it, right? Remember we talked about having, 2 furnaces, 2 stoves.
Yeah.
Same thing. You have 3 units. You're managing 2 other people plus your own unit, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to make sure that everything is there and you're, getting good and qualified people. Highly recommend doing credit checks. Don't rent to friends. Try not to rent to family,
Okay.
And the reason why is, again, you're often, it's business at the end of the day. You're going to often more likely kind of
hey, bro, I can't pay you, but
hey, man,
I love you, but I'll bring over some food. I'll get it to you on Friday.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to bring you, I'll buy your groceries. Is that okay? How does that work?
Got it.
No, it doesn't. I don't recommend doing that. But being a landlord is not bad. You're going to want to set up separate accounts just to make sure.
Is there a book somebody, is there a book you recommend for people that want
just one of my mentors who owns a lot of units in Chicago. His name's Cullen Davis. He's the one that kind of just helped me kind of work through this, and he owns and manages 5,000 units.
So then is that the way that you'd recommend somebody to find a mentor that's in that space that's already doing it?
Absolutely. I have plenty of tools. I have spreadsheets, things like that. People to manage their money, how to separate it. Where do you want to put this? I had a question from an actual real estate agent that I'm helping invest a bunch of properties in Michigan. And they're like, how should I separate this? And they just bought 7 single family residences all on one block, and I financed them all. Right.
7 at one time.
7 at one time. Yep.
So is that block empty?
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much. There's 8 houses on that row. So they bought 7 out of the 8. They bought it from a person. I did each individual loan because I was able to do that. And they're like, I'm just spinning. So created a series LLC and an individual LLC for each of the properties. So say, for example, it's like 5908 Euclid. 50 60 Euclid, 50 62 Euclid, and that's where you can kind of just separate any security deposits and stuff like that. Because at the end of the year, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna have to go talk to your accountant, or you're gonna have to figure out your expenses, and you have to look where all that stuff's at. And it's a lot easier just to set it up from the beginning and have it ready, because you want to create that layer of protection between you and your property, right? Because you don't want anyone to come after you personally.
Okay, and so I want to buy, one of the challenges I'm having right now, maybe other people are having it. I want to buy multifamily, but it's financing it currently right now. What I'm going to have to pay versus what I'm going to generate in rent, I'm going to end up at a loss.
Well, that's the part where right now there's certain loans that are called debt coverage service ratio, DCSR, or debt service coverage ratio, DSCR loans. They are not very great right now because of where interest rates are at. And then, rents kind of pivoted, and now they're starting to go back up. So you'll start to see this come to fruition. And guess what's going to happen? When that happens, rates go down. So rent will go up and rates will come down. So that you'll start seeing where you will actually be able to generate cash flow on it, because you're probably looking at 25% down on some of these multifamilies, right? And if you go over 5 units, you're looking at 40% down on most of the commercial lending right now. You're seeing why am I not? Well, you're borrowing money at double what you were 2 years ago.
Correct.
And that's the issue that everyone's having right now.
So right now, if somebody wants to buy a investment property, multifamily or commercial, how can they do it right now where they're not taking a loss every month?
Well, you got to think about it. The loss isn't necessarily, if you're losing $300, $400, or $500 a month on it, it's really, I don't consider that a loss, because that's tax deductible, right? It's an expense, right, that you're losing out on the actual money. The majority of the funds is still being paid down, so people are still paying a majority of your 401k for you, right? Yeah. So, quote unquote. So you are losing a little bit of money, but you're not losing a ton of money, right? Just think if you had that home vacant, right? And it was a $2,500 a month bill, but you got somebody in there for $2,000 because you had to do it. You'd rather lose $500 versus $2,000, right? The appreciation of the property will still be there for the future.
Yeah.
You don't want to necessarily miss out on that.
So you're basically saying you're going to take a small loss right now.
Yeah.
Down the road, you refi.
Yeah.
And you get the depreciation.
Because guess what?
So
rates go down, values will go up.
Are investors, are you seeing, since you're on the back end side of it, loans, are investors buying properties right now?
Absolutely. If you have cash to deploy right now into properties, absolutely you should be buying investment properties.
Okay.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Like, no questions asked. Because guess what's going to happen? Like we talked about, average over the whole history of the MBS is 5-6%, where you want to be able to see some of these interest rates at. If it goes back down to that, even it goes a percent lower. So say we're at 7 right now, it goes down to 6%. Every percent the interest rate lowers, 4.5 million more people become buyers. So I'll say it again. Every time rates reduced by 1%, 4.5 million more people become buyers.
They actually buy, or they become eligible to buy?
Become eligible to buy.
Okay.
Right? Because it's affordable now.
That makes sense.
Right? So what happens if we go down 2%? You're talking about 9 million people come to market, potentially come to market.
Got it.
Right? So
okay.
How would you, now what does that do? Competitive situations, going over, maybe overpaying for it, hopefully generating some income. You might be in the same situation, right? So real estate always wins. Ask your buddy Warren Buffett.
Okay.
All
right. Next question.
Okay.
Let's transition to real estate industry as a loan professional.
Yep.
So how has what's gone on with rates affected your industry, income, things like that? You don't got to be specific on numbers, but how are you being affected by the mortgage, the rate industry?
I mean, we're down about 30% from 2021 to 22, 23, about 30%, which is pretty standard right now across the board. Some people are down 70%. The part is everyone got scared. We got used to a lower interest rate environment where you could go do it, and it was kind of shooting fish in a barrel, right? We were able to refinance people, and we were able to do purchases, right, at really low interest rates. Well, now interest rates went up. All these people are at 3%. I'm not refinancing, right? Correct. So you have a majority, a big chunk of your business is no longer being utilized as much anymore.
What percentage of your business during that time was refi versus new purchase?
I'd say 70% purchase and about 30% refinance.
Okay, so those that were more refinance and purchase were hit harder.
Yeah, correct. Yep. So that's why you're seeing a different level of certain loan officers, and it's just there's been mass attrition across the U.S. in our industry right now. There was like over 200,000 loan officers. I want to say the end of Q3 of 2023. Now we're down to about 80,000. Just the report of end of Q1 of 2024.
Say that again. So is that in Austin?
No, that's nationally.
Nationally? So what happened?
There's about 120,000 less loan officers in the United States now.
How many total loan officers? Do you know?
There was about 200,000. There's about 80,000 nationally right now.
Okay, so there was around 200,000 loan officers in the United States.
Yep.
And now there's around 80,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's 120,000 left the industry. Mm-hmm. They didn't renew their. What does that even mean?
It's not renewing their license. Okay. So the average age of a loan officer, believe it or not, in 2023 was like 54 years old.
Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. So it can spur you to your next question. What is AI doing for your industry?
We're gonna get there in a sec. So what did most of them? Do you have friends that left the mortgage industry?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what did they go?
Completely doing something else.
What did they do?
Selling software, doing whatever. I mean, loan officers, we're problem solvers. That's what we are. That's our job.
Sure.
At the end of the day, we solve problems. We manage chaos. We manage 2 real estate agents, depending on the state, 2 attorneys, title, appraisals, underwriting, processing, getting pinged. And that's just one file, right? So like if you have 30 or 40 files, like you're busy, right? You're always on. So they can handle, pretty much anything. So I have a friend of mine who went and got out of the industry and opened up a bunch of Chicago hot dog stands, and he's doing very well with it, like successful. It's pretty funny how that works.
The economy doesn't affect hot dogs, bro.
No, it doesn't. Actually,
or pizza.
Yeah, or pizza. Correct.
Yes.
So
I need to open some pizza restaurants.
There you go.
Okay.
I might know somebody.
Yeah. So how has AI affected your industry, or has it, or do you see it affecting your industry?
I think it's going to start off with a bunch of maybe a little bit of misinformation on it. And the reason why I think most licensed industries like mine or real estate will have challenges coming up going forward. And why is that? There's a gentleman that's in my neighborhood who is working on all these AI licensing deals for media platforms, right? So their media is not being utilized. I'm like, if that's happening, more than likely this is going to happen further. Because again, we've had Google for so long, right? Now AI is just the easier, like Google, give me a quick answer and be a little bit more in depth of what I want, right? People would WebMD themselves to death on mortgages, right? And either scare them off or think they know everything or go forward with stuff and not. AI kind of still gives you that same baseline, but it's a little bit more intelligent, right? On how it words it and how, eloquent it is in regards to it. There's some things that a lot of people in my industry ask AI something and they set it up on Canva, like all the other industries, and post it up all over the place, right? And some of it's legit. I think it's going to be hard for it to keep with the ever-changing products and programs that are out there, and I think that's where we'll still be relevant. But I don't fully think we'll be a vending machine yet for mortgages. Okay. I think loan officers are still, because everyone's situation is totally different, right? It's very unique. Everyone's financial situation, credit score. I mean, you change one thing on the algorithm of what it is for somebody to qualify for a loan, right? Credit, down payment, loan product, right? Property type, lock time frame. That depicts, what your interest rate is, right? So if you think about it as, then I have to go into, hey, what's your income, right? Well, I own this property. I have these 2 LLCs. I'm actually part of an S Corp, right? And then I also get a W-2 from this company, and I'm on the board for that one, right? There's stuff that AI won't be able to actually solve for you.
Do you guys do that right now? Like, is there AI underwriting?
There is not AI underwriting that we have at my account. Yeah. Ready? Business idea. Ready? Let's go. Yeah. There is AUS, which is automated underwriting approval. Okay. So that's a really simple tool that Fannie and Freddie Mac, who are the big dogs that run majority of our loan programs for us, kind of help you with. But AI will be interesting to see. I'm more interested to see what AI is going to hold over this next 6 months.
I'm going to be interviewing a robot.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me, how's it like being a robot?
Yes. How does it feel? How does it feel being a robot? Exactly.
So when you look at that real estate lawsuit that like came out and they're like, hey, these guys have been abusing clients. Yeah. We're not going to let them do that anymore. Right. How is that affecting the loan industry at all, no?
I think it's the doom and gloom, right? They're magnifying the very small percentage of real estate agents that potentially do abuse. Real estate agents are a key success to the real estate market. Whether some contrary to most belief, right? Some people say, "Oh, I can find it on my elves and go." Well, if it wasn't up on certain sites, or if it wasn't through MLS programs or anything like that, or going through the site surveys and all the certifications that they need to do just to be able to negotiate and make sure your contract and make sure you're protected, you're going into your largest investment of your life, right? And you're going to say, I know it better than the person that's been doing it for 20 years, who's a licensed real estate agent. How does that sound for you? If I get
I like to do my own surgeries.
So, right. Exactly. I get on a trial, I've never been an attorney, right? A trial for murder, accused for murder.
Rocket lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. What am I going to do, right?
Yeah.
So there's more value than what people want to say. That they think, oh, hey, we have these $1 million listing shows and all this stuff that goes on.
Are they being affected though? Like, have you seen the general public be like, hey, you know what? I don't want to pay you as much.
It's absolutely. I mean, that stuff is going to be coming out. Okay. I think it's coming out more and often. But I mean, if somebody is making that kind of transaction and they understand the value of being protected by somebody who negotiates and does this to pay their own bills, why wouldn't you pay them to do it, right? Why wouldn't you do that? I mean, I think that's the part is you're going to see more agents probably lean towards listings, right, than anything else on agreeing it. And that's going to be that listing agent's job to actually make sure that they're paying the buyer's agent, right? That's really what it comes down to. The NAR lawsuits, I think, are far from over right now, right? And I think it's going to be a very interesting time. But it's, I have the utmost respect for real estate agents. They are, the people that refer me business, right?
Do you get majority of your business referred through real estate agents?
Real estate agents, financial advisors, CPAs, HR generalists, past clients, neighbors, friends, family. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you think has made you, because I know what I like about talking to you.
Yeah. What is it?
What is it? I can tell you. What do you think's made you a successful loan officer? Because you've, and I'm not going to talk about your income, but you've made 7 figures in the industry.
Yep.
What's made you a successful loan officer?
Or
successful business person?
Having the right support. My teammate Stephanie is the best. She's awesome, like hands down. Having the right people around you, having, how do you say it? Simon Sinek has that story, like, what is that book? It starts with why, right?
With why.
Understanding what my why is, right? My why is I want to provide a nice life for my family. I want to be able to make sure that I'm around to be able to do that for them. And then my whole part of that starts with why book is also like understanding what my client is. Like when you sit down with somebody yourself and you start saying, hey, I'm going to show you what we have. You don't start with that, right? I'm just going to show you my products, because you're not pushing products, right? You're building a relationship. And if I can say, I can understand what your time horizon, your risk tolerance, right, is, and really kind of understand your ultimate goal of everything, I think that's what helps me be successful. Because if I can understand your goal and I help you reach it, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get that loyalty from that person every single time.
Yeah. When we were talking, there was a whole lot of conversation, understanding. I felt like you genuinely, and I understand sales. I'm not naive, but I understand. You could tell when somebody also is like, man, they're a great sales professional, but they also genuinely care about what they're doing. And like, and I felt like I got that level of humanness, from you, professionalism, education, speed, support. It felt like it mattered to you. And obviously I know, like, we live off commission, that's how I take care of it's how I buy groceries, how I pay for our health insurance, it's, so you got to take care of your clients like that. So I think you're great at that. It's been awesome having you on today, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes. We'll have to do a part 2 live when you help me buy some commercial real estate here.
Yeah, let's make sure we have some hard hats on. We'll go out there.
That would be great. That'd be great. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, ask you questions, maybe they're considering buying a home, maybe they're even a year out from that process, but they're getting ready for it. How can they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me at you can call me on my cell or text anytime. It's Chicago area code 312-285-6136. Or you can email me at Jesse, Jesse .Lokken at GRA-rate. So that's GRARATE.com. Or visit my website, jesselokken.com.
Okay, we'll put all that. We didn't want you to have to spell it. My bad. We're going to give you a spelling contest now. No. But thank you for coming, man. It's been awesome.
Appreciate you.
I think that.
Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, no, I think there are so many people that would benefit from buying real estate, and they're generationally, they don't think that they can. Hey, I grew up in an apartment my whole life. Yeah. And it's such a freaking poverty mindset. And it's not against their mom or dad or family. They didn't know necessarily better. But I think there are so many people today that are just ignorant. And when I say ignorant, they're ignoring, opportunities that are out there because they think I'm too far away. I got to have it all put together. They're not going to want, like most financial advisors today from big high-end firms, they don't want to talk to people that have less than $250,000 to invest.
Correct.
So there's that limiting belief that I'll sit with clients like, oh, I don't have enough to invest, or how much is this going to cost me? Where they're worried, and that stops them from even inquiring or even looking.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend people to reach out to Jesse and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about buying something. I'm a renter right now. I'm spending $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, whatever it is. I want to go from renter to owner, what do I need to do to position myself to be able to do that?
Yeah.
And that may be making extra income. You know, we recruit a lot of agents to the insurance industry because they want to make extra income because they want to buy real estate and they want to be investors.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes it's extra income. It may be paying down a debt, but having the advice from somebody that can literally analyze your situation that's an expert, I think is super valuable. So thank you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have questions or comments, please reach out. Let us know what you'd like to see next. If you have anything that you want to learn about, we love to learn. So maybe we can invite somebody on that you want to learn from as well here locally in Austin, or a topic that you want to learn. But thank you for your time. I hope you got value from it. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Take care.